experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry, we are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
Hi, I'm Danny Black.
And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Card Menches. ORIOLES. Orioles, baby.
They didn't win, though.
No, but man, tying run at third, 2 outs, didn't get no hit.
All right, I guess.
All right, what episode are we on?
I believe it's 47, but I'm not sure.
Well, welcome to episode roughly 47 of I'm Not Sure, also known as Card Menches. That's John Newman. I am Danny Black, and I am watching the Orioles live, and they were no hit through 8 2/3 innings. And literally, as we're coming on, Gunnar Henderson tripled down the line to break it up. So I'm starting off in a good mood. They might still lose, but at least not no hit. Which actually plays into one of my players tonight in our conversation. I thought it would be fun, and I think you agree, if we talked about random players that we loved, whether we love them now, whether we loved them growing up, just some of the random players. What's up, Warren? And I think everybody's got their own favorites. A No Hat Danny episode. Wow, I forgot to put it on. So I chose players more random from my childhood years when I was younger, growing up, learning the game, and guys that might be a little bit more random. You chose, do you want to explain how you did your list?
I chose every player I liked in my whole life. So this will be a 3-hour show. I'm just warning everybody. Hang on, let me get my list.
Where the
Here it is. No, I'm just kidding. That's my NFL draft cheat sheet. But no, I got about 12 names, of players that I've liked, kind of in chronological order of kind of from what young collector to present day, if you will.
Okay. And thank you very much. Thank you, Hodges. Appreciate everybody. Yeah. Hopefully we get the whole gang in here tonight. I'm feeling,
or as Eric from those back pages would say, hello, everyone.
Hello, Newman. How do you want to do this? You just want to alternate, or you want to throw?
Yeah, let's alternate. You can go first since you came up with this idea. I'm not an idea guy. I've just learned recently. So
evidently, I just give out ideas. I don't do anything else. So that's why we make a good partnership. I'm going to throw out a random one. Not my number one, not my favorite, but this was a player who a lot of these are going to have ties to the Orioles. They were my team growing up. I'm not going to pretend that there's not going to be some connection. But Chris Sabo, the goggles, the glasses, the Reds, Rookie of the Year. He finished up with the Orioles, but he was just one of those players I always loved from a distance. And when the Orioles got him, I thought it was a good move. It was more at the end of his career, but Chris Sabo was about as random of a guy that I liked on another team when I was growing up. Love Joe Orsulak. Slack could hit. Yes. Chris Sabo randomly corked his bat. Thank you, Mookie.
Your list might be more. I think I got a feeling your interesting might be more eclectic than mine.
Mine's all over the place.
I don't want to say mine's chalk, but I think yours is going to wind up being more eclectic.
Okay. Well, I started with Chris Sabo, and guys,
I'm going to keep mine in chronological order. And for that reason, you're not going to hear Jackie Robinson just yet, because when I first start watching baseball, it was, I was very young, 5, 6 years old.
Oh, I
So
know.
that is 77, 76. My first guy, and I've talked about this before. My first guy is Thurman Munson, the captain. That was my dude, man. That was the dude. I know I've talked about this on this episode. That's how I learned what death was, and it's the first person I cried for when that happened. So Thurman Munson was, I saw him at Yankee Stadium. Not in, I never met him, but I watched him live. And so Thurman Munson was the first player that I really idolized first. And so Thurman Munson's, again, I'm going to do this chronologically. So Thurman Munson was my dude.
And I'm putting this in the chat. Because I definitely want to hear from this group if there was ever a topic made for this chat room.
I mean, he's not random. See, that's
well,
I got some random players coming, but I'm in New York. I'm a Yankee kid, And
Mike Petty says Tim Leary hit Sabo on purpose and broke his wrist. No love lost.
There you go, and there's a fun fact.
Warren is that true, Warren?
Eric Munson. I'm guessing it's Eric Munson. What I want to know is, did Eric take you deep like Veritek?
Right. All right. So Thurman Munson's a good one. Oh yeah, I love these names coming in. Let me see if I can even try to keep up. Mark Hoyle, Mike Petty, Mookie. I like this. As a Mets fan,
Travis Fryman.
I'm a Willie McGee fan.
Travis Fryman. There's a name we haven't heard in a while.
Let me tell you something. For a while, he was a heck of a shortstop with Cleveland.
Third base. He was good.
Third base, yeah.
I got to see him in the minor leagues with Toledo.
Really?
Yeah.
That was before he moved to third, wasn't it?
I always had him as a third baseman.
Maybe I'm wrong. All right. Mike Greenwell, Andy Van Slyke.
Andy Van Slyke from New Hartford, New York. Just actually knew where our friend Nick Brower has his store. That's Andy Van Slyke's hometown.
Bernie Williams is a crush for me. Warren, then you must do you have his jazz guitar album? That's what I want to know. Does Warren have the Bernie Williams' jazz guitar album, of which is award winning? Bernie is a legit guitarist in the jazz world. Okay, I'm going to go with Rick Dempsey. 1983 World Series MVP. Rain delay. He would put the pillows in his stomach.
Oh, I remember that.
Babe Ruth and run around the wet tarp. You couldn't not like Dempsey. He played in 4 decades, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And was just one of those great lifetime catchers. I happen to know him personally, real decent guy. And I was just always a fan of Dempers.
Yeah, I remember him doing that, sliding around. That was fun. That's a guy that enjoyed the game, right? Had fun doing it, right? So, all right, man, I gotta go. So, I put Munson first. I'm trying to keep this literally, and like Billy Joel did, and we didn't start the fire. I'm trying to keep this in chronological order here. So I'm gonna go Brooklyn Dodgers / Jackie. And so obviously that was before my time, but growing up in New York and in Brooklyn specifically, and my dad lived in Ebbets Field, I started to get, and now I'm a baseball fan, I'm a Yankees kid, and my dad started telling me about the Brooklyn Dodgers and Jackie. And, this is before Google, folks. Believe it or not, I was born before Google and Wikipedia. So we had to get information from actual humans. And in this case, my dad. And so I got all those stories And then, you can research. It was called encyclopedias.
Yep.
And so I started learning about my hometown team, which was no longer there. And when I learned the significance of Jackie Robinson, not just on the field, but off the field, then he became, my all-time idol. But Thurman Munson first, then Jackie, the Brooklyn Dodgers. And I'll put the Brooklyn Dodgers / Jackie kind of, rather than name 7 guys that I really specifically, I'll just put them in kind of the group.
Ruben would like to let you know that 99% of the people who watch this show were born before Google, John, not just you.
Well, I'm talking to the 1%ers.
Dylan says he doesn't know what we're talking about, but he's a Wally Joyner guy.
Wally Joyner, like, he has a big following. There's a lot of Wally Joyner guys.
I remember when it was Will Clark and Wally Joyner, and there was the 2 different camps on who was better, and they both had great swings. 2 of the prettiest swings ever. Yeah. Matt Williams, he had an interesting career.
He was pretty good for a while.
Was he clean? I hate to ask that.
I think so. I think that those were gym muscles and hot dogs for the belly.
All right, fair enough. So you went Jackie
/ Brooklyn Dodgers.
/ Brooklyn Dodgers. Group them all together.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna throw one out here. Will the Thrill. Yep. Well, you got to remember then you had Wally World.
Yeah.
The
first Wally World before what we now know as Wally World.
Right, exactly. I love this topic. All right. Orioles almost being no hit. The first no hitter I ever watched or listened to or was anyway caught live was Juan Nieves, the former Brewers pitcher against the Orioles. And that was like 1987. And I became a Juan Nieves fan. And so randomly, Brewers pitcher Juan Nieves, if anybody can remember him, he didn't do much, but he was like, I believe, the second youngest to throw a no-hitter when he did it. And the first Puerto Rican player. So I'll give a shout out to Juan Nieves on the night the Orioles did not get no hit.
So Bink Scott saying Matt Williams not clean.
I thought there was something.
Yeah.
This is still true though. Will Clark, Matt Williams, and Kevin Mitchell were a meaty middle order.
That was tough, man. That was the 90s murderers row.
Mike Petty says Casey Stengel. Mark Hoyle, Gary Peters. Bing Scott says, good evening, gents. Unfortunately, Matt Williams was dirty. Loved him, though.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember more of the details. Mike Petty, we just had this conversation. He says he left a no-hitter in the 8th, Denny Martinez against the Dodgers. Dennis Martinez, El Presidente, was somebody I could have put on my list. He went and got into politics back home. Do you just like me reading names and telling you everything I can think of?
Whose turn is it?
It's got to be yours because I'm dominating.
All right. So
time of possession's been at me.
I got a long list, so I might put like 2 names at different times together. So obviously I left my Steinbrenner ruined it for me. George ruined the whole Yankees scenario for me. So I became a Mets fan 84, 85, right? So, Strawberry and Gooden, I wasn't super fans, but obviously they were the as they say with Strawberry, the straw that stirred the drink. So early in my Mets, Gary Carter for me too.
Hojo?
I wasn't a big, I didn't not like him. I'm just guys I had affinity for. So Gary Carter, Strawberry and Gooden before all this stuff came out later on. in my Mets days. And now, because I wasn't a Yankees fan anymore, I could kind of go back and guys I liked even on other teams. So I was really a huge Carl Yastrzemski and Harmon Killebrew. Like I really started, even as a kid, getting their cards, buying their cards, trading for their cards. So yes, I kind of felt guilty as a Yankee fan doing it, but now that I lost that, because yes was a Long Island guy, but a Red Sox player. So now that I turned in my Yankees fan card, I really started acquiring Carl Yastrzemski, Harmon Killebrew, two of the earliest cards that were my most valuables as a kid now, mind you, like almost single digits, maybe 10, 11, was a Yaz rookie and a Killebrew rookie. The 54 tops for Killebrew, and Yaz was 60.
And it's funny, we talked about both of those being undervalued.
Yeah, and along with my Munson rookie, those three were like my early great cards. I didn't have Jackie Robinson cards yet. I couldn't afford them yet. So those were my like three cards that I really were like the cornerstone of my early collection. No, I think Killebrew. No, you might be right. No, Killerbrew's 54, I think.
What's going on?
I don't know. Whatever it is,
happy Friday. Mike Petty says, I played against Strawberry in high school. We lost a 7-run lead in the last inning, and Crenshaw went to the city finals at Dodger Stadium. Strawberry hit a bomb, as did Chris Brown. I can imagine Strawberry in high school not being a fair fight. I mean, he didn't spend a lot of time in the minors. He was pretty good. Yeah. All right, so this one's a little. You said mine was going to be a little esoteric. Rene Gonzalez.
Yeah, you're pulling them. You and Mark Hall are pulling names out of nowheresville.
Rene Gonzalez played for the Los Angeles Angels, played for the Orioles. He was a super utility infielder, but he wore number 88. That's what I loved about him. He wore a spring training number. Yep, Mookie has it. See? And he had that 88 his whole career, or as much as I can remember. Mike Petty just rocking the high school.
Man, I'm excited. I gave up a home run to Veritek, and then Mike Petty's like, "Hold my beer."
I mean, really. Well, I'm going to stick with Rene Gonzalez because I can't compete against Petty. But Rene Gonzalez, if anybody, Ruben says, "What's next for Andy Mulligan and Glenn Davis?" Glenn Davis was a sad move. Sad move. Hey, man, Ruben, these were the good years. Growing up, this was my childhood. I loved it.
Yeah, it's Milligan, which Glenn Davis was quite the player, man.
Right before he came to Baltimore. And Mike Petty says he was the bench warmer pinch hitter. That was
listen. Like no one would know, if he said he was. It's like no one would know he was wrong.
Fair enough. That's how I learned I needed.
So we appreciate the honesty, right?
Yeah.
I told you this before we went on. We're talking about like no hitters earlier. I threw a one hitter at MacArthur Stadium, which is where the Blue Jays minor league team here in Syracuse played. I never threw a no hitter, even in Little League. I threw a couple one hitters. I threw a one hitter in high school, and it never failed. The times I had no hitters going, one of my teammates would come over to me like, dude, you got one going. I'm like, dude, you don't do that. No, just broke. Get out of my face right now. And sure enough, I never got one.
Well, it's obviously because of the jinx.
It's not for lack of talent, it's for lack of awareness by teammates.
Absolutely. But Veritek got you, John. Yeah, Warren knows.
Yeah, that game was not even close to no hitter. So did his teammates.
That game was much hitter.
Yeah, yeah. One of the few games I was actually removed from the game for not doing well. Let's just put it that way.
Wow. All right, whose turn is it?
I think it's me. You
Go
came up
for it.
with Rene Gonzalez. That one's gonna be tough. That one's gonna be tough to follow.
My next one's a good one, also. So don't worry.
So again, I'm going in chronological order. Now I'm not a Yankees fan. I am a Mets fan, but I'm going back to the Yankees for a guy I really love. And I'm going to tie in the cards here because 84, man, this guy, everyone was going after this guy's rookie. I'm in New York City. This guy's the talk of New York. It's Don Mattingly.
Absolutely.
It's Don Mattingly. So I was a huge Don Mattingly 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid. While not a Yankee fan, I rooted for Don Mattingly. He really even made me consider, like, could I go back? But I never did. But I just became, rather than being a Yankee fan again, I just became a Mattingly fan instead. And so Don Mattingly, was one of those guys for me. I don't know how much 84. I went broke on opening 84 Donruss, chasing that card. I love the Tony Gwynn too. So I'm going to put just for to speed up this show, I'll put Tony Gwynn in there too. And again, being on the East Coast, I didn't get to watch him live as much, but I was a baseball kid. Like I was reading box scores, the recaps. I was really starting to play baseball at a high level myself, becoming really a fan of and Tony Gwynn was and Don Mattingly at that point for the two of the best hitters in the game. And so it was Mattingly and Gwynn and East Coast, West Coast for me. And again, before YouTube, so I would have to try to find highlights somewhere or watch the news to see Tony Gwynn, but I was definitely getting all the box scores and recaps and, knowing like this dude doesn't even strike out. Forget all the hits he gets. He can't even strike this guy out. So 84 was I know Gwynn was 83 for his rookie, but that 83, 84, 85, I was a Mattingly Gwynn kid. I hadn't started doing shows yet, but I was trying to get their cards, chasing, opening lots of 84 Donruss, 84 Tops. Not as much 84 Fleer, but trying to chase all those cards.
I got to tell you, the chat room is big Don Mattingly fans.
He was a hard guy not to like, man. He didn't talk trash, played the game, rarely took a day off, pretty humble. One of the quietest Yankee on a team that had some loud guys. He was a fairly quiet guy. And it was hard not to like. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything to make you not like him. You know what I mean? Like he was one of those
He
guys.
just had the back injuries.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not his fault per se.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it made you want more,
Yeah.
He was so good when he was healthy.
So Mattingly Gwynn at that point. I wasn't a box guy.
Well, when I grew up,
it
was
Mattingly. I don't know if it was the New York thing and he was a great hitter. I wasn't saying he stunk. I just wasn't my dude. You know what I mean?
All right. Fair enough. I hear you. All right. I'm going to go on my next one. Are you done on all the 80s good hitters?
Well, I got another guy coming up.
Okay. Ken Singleton.
I remember him.
Ken Singleton was a outfielder at DH. He was with the Yankees, the Expos, the Orioles. He's now an announcer or was with the Yankees forever. Ken Singleton was an on-base machine, before people looked at on-base percentage.
He was very good, man. I don't think people know how good Ken Singleton was.
Yeah, and so I want to give a shout out. Ken Singleton was my guy, and even though he's been a Yankees announcer for all these years, still like him. Still think he's underrated. Not a Hall of Famer, but a Hall of very good. Warren's calling me on it too. Yep. Hey, Warren, these are the guys I grew up following. Yeah, these were my favorite players. My dad was very tough to not let me like guys on other teams. So very rarely did I root for players on the other team. Mookie says about Singleton, great switch hitter, easy to listen to in the booth. Yes.
The smooth sounds of Kenny Singleton.
John Lowenstein, yep.
I got the Jerry, the whole head of Jerry curls and the dark glasses.
Dylan says Dave Winfield, another huge guy for me. He's literally huge, Dylan.
He didn't make my list, but he was close. I like Dave Winfield.
I will have to admit that most of the time I saw Winfield was the Yankees, Blue Jays, Twins, kind of the end of his, I don't want to say the end, the second part of his career.
Yeah.
All right, who you got?
My next guy I'm going to mention is and another guy, quiet. His body type didn't scream like as good as he was. Like he outperformed his body type. He gave a kid, now it's 85. I'm starting to put on a little weight as a 13, 14-year-old. And I'm like watching this dude, 85, 86. And I'm like, if a guy that looks like that can play that good in the big leagues, I might be able to make it. And that was Kirby Puckett. You know,
wow.
Right? Just the way he looked, you know, he's a little pudgy, but he's still crashing to that hefty bag and make a great catch, hit some home runs. He was faster than
5'7", 5'8".
Faster than he appeared to be.
He had to be.
Yep. And I'm like, if this dude can do that and look like that, I'm still holding out hope, even though I'm starting to get a little belly myself at the time, because I was a skinny younger kid. It was around 14, 15. I start putting on a little bit of the LBs. And so Puckett became one of my favorite players for those reasons I just mentioned. This is like the Wonder Years period for me.
Ruben says he thought you
Tom
might be
Bernansky.
Well, you had
that guy hit some moonshots though.
Yeah, that team also had Gary Gaetti.
Yeah.
Remember him? No.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was a good team. Love Puckett, John. Yep.
Greg Gagne on that team.
Yeah. Who became the professional wrestler? One of them went into professional wrestling.
Was it Dan Gladden?
No, but he was on the great call. You're cleaning up on.
It wasn't Jack Morris.
Right. Orlando, and guys, you can see Orlando on Hobby Hotline making tomorrow. His debut tomorrow
with myself,
with yourself and Chris Harris, right?
Mm-hmm.
Greg Lazinski.
Greg Lazinski.
Oh, Ken Herbeck. That's who it was. Thank you.
Herbeck. Atlanta Braves love Ken Herbeck.
Yeah. No, I believe he did go into.
I like Ken Herbeck because his name starts with H. His last name starts with HR. Home run back.
Tomorrow debut. Yep. Warren giving the shout out.
That was quite a Twins team back during those mid '80s.
Would they take the World Series in '87 and '91?
Yep. I think so.
Mike Petty speaking the truth. Orlando will straighten shit out down there tomorrow morning. John's hosting. I might. This might be grab your popcorn, guys. Yep. Make sure you get your rest. All right. Whose turn is it? Did I?
Well, I said Puckett, so it's your turn.
All right. Well, I already went Ken Singleton, who I thought was one of my best ones, and I'm really disappointed in the chat here for not stepping up more on Ken Singleton. Mike Petty says, I will have all 25 TVs at my local Costco tomorrow morning. I just hope that's true once, just once, and you take a picture
That's
of it.
funny.
That is
no
funny.
truth to the rumor that I get better looking on Costco's TV. That is a false rumor.
No, but you get John at a better price at Costco. Ruben says extra insurer will be drunk by Orlando for optimum performance. That's hilarious. Okay, so I've moved through a lot of my list, but I'm gonna give you a couple others that I've always loved. Carney Lansford.
Yeah, I remember him, the ace.
Yep, third baseman. I thought he went for a batting title one year.
I think he won it. He was a hell of a hit. He was a hell of a hitter for average. He did some home runs here and there.
And I just remember loving him from across the diamond.
Is that it?
Are you not impressed?
I like Carney Lansford. I remember, obviously I remember all with the Red Sox. So
okay, there you go. He was a Red Sox just before Boggs. Carney is better than Wyatt Lansford. That's funny. Dylan showing some love. Orlando clearly mailing out checks to everybody. Yeah, here.
We got a Terry Steinbeck side.
Yeah. That's hysterical. He was an Angel. Lansford was?
Yeah, he played on a few teams. He played on.
I forgot about the Angels, though. Yes, he won a batting title. Carney Lansford was a heck of a player. And once again, a little bit under the radar.
Yeah.
Dylan.
I gotta be honest here. I remember Chone Figgins. I'm looking at my list, man. There are a lot of superstars. I don't have there's one guy that we might not say is a superstar, but like I didn't go for a lot of like obscure guys. But you gravitate towards those guys for different reasons. Right?
Absolutely. But I know if I came out here and said Sandy Koufax, Cal Ripken, and Eddie Murray, that that would be too chalk for me. Sean Figgins was the original utility man.
Yeah, he was quite the base stealer too.
Yeah, he was. Okay, who do you got?
All right, this next guy. Now we're in 87 through 90. At this point, I'm a pitcher in hardball, starting to learn the nuances. And I'm not trying to compare myself to this next guy, but I really patterned myself after him in this way. I didn't have like a high 90s fastball. I didn't blow people away, but I also didn't walk anyone. And so I took a page out of watching this guy. And while I wasn't a fan of the team, I was a fan of this guy. And to this day, here in 2024, I don't think this guy gets enough credit for the numbers and some of the obscure stats he put up. And that's Greg Maddux. I was a huge Greg Maddux guy. Even though he played on the Braves and I'm a Mets fan, I was just in awe on how, again, he'd strike out people without blowing them away like Nolan Ryan would. And he was just such a surgeon on the mound, right? Painting corners, keeping dudes off balance. And so Greg Maddux, yep. And that's not why I said it, but there you go. Segue.
There's the rookie run.
Yep. And I was a similar guy and again, I'm not saying I was talent on that, but in little league, pony ball, and in high school, I wasn't going to blow you away with a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, but I was probably going to strike you out just by painting corners and keeping you off balance. And I didn't walk dudes. Like, you either going to strike out, get out, or get a hit. But I wasn't going to walk you. I remember one time my coach from the dugout gave me like to put a man on like an intentional walk, and I refused to do it. And I was in the doghouse for not walking the guy. And I remember I got the kid out. I got back to the dug. He was yelling at me I got back to the dugout. I'm not going to say the exact language he used, but he basically said, "What the blank are you doing, Newman? You knew what I wanted." And I'm like, "Coach, did I get him out?" He goes, "That's not the point." But I think internally he's like, he got the kid out. But he didn't want to give that to me. Right. So I just rarely walk people. And Maddux was where I really was the blueprint for me.
I was lucky enough to be working for the Braves for part of his career when he was down there in Atlanta the same time I was. The guy was built like a librarian. I mean, there was nothing that you would look at.
Yeah, he didn't look like the player he was, but just cerebral, knew the game, studied the hitters, knew. And I wasn't watching film, but I would watch. I would get to know maybe hitters' tendencies from watching their at bats, or even, watching them when I wasn't on the mound, when a teammate was pitching against a team, I would make mental notes of if they got a hit, like where that was or what kind of pitch it was. So Maddux was that guy that influenced how I kind of pitched, and just a really underrated player. You look at some of the stats you see on like memes and stuff, and you almost think they're not real, and they are.
Ruben, if you're talking about Maddux, he was a practical joker. There's a documentary out on him. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's some pretty funny stuff. My mom was a librarian for 15 years. Watch your mouth, Danny. But was she built like Greg Maddux? See, this is my point, Dylan. And Dylan also said that he did not strike out a lot, and it was pointed out that his strike zone might have been a little smaller in Little League. So 100% there. Respect the on-base percentage, Dylan. Dylan was ahead of his time with the on-base percentage. Him and Ken Singleton.
There you go.
Ruben's seen the documentary, or at least he knows some of the stories. He walked up to Chipper Jones. Have you heard this story?
No, I don't. Not by how you started it.
Okay, so he walks up to Chipper Jones, and Chipper's in the shower, and he's talking to Chipper, telling him, what a great game, what a great this, what a great that. Chipper looks down, and Maddux is peeing on him the whole time.
It's good for your hands.
Yes, there you
go.
So I love Greg Maddux. That was a great call, John.
Yeah, I mean, these are all legit. When I made this list, I went in order, and I went, through the eras.
All right, this one for me might be a little mainstream, but I think he does not get talked about enough. When you talk about combining power and speed, this guy was as electric as anybody, especially before he got sick and before he got hurt. Eric Davis. Came up with the Reds. Just a tremendous athlete.
He hit some home runs. I remember Eric Davis big time. He hit some home runs like a guy that looks like that shouldn't be hitting.
Yes. Yeah.
Like he was not a big. He wasn't like Dave Kingman built, but that dude, he would hit, and they were like a lot of them were like line drive, like laser beams out, and like he was an impressive player for a stretch of time, like you said before injuries. And I actually saw him play live. I saw a lot of these guys I actually wound up seeing play in person, and he wasn't an imposing specimen, but heck of a player defensively too. And he was quite the hitter, and he hit some balls like you're like that guy hit that, like holy smokes.
He holds the record still, one of the longest home runs at Oriole Park. He was the first 30-50 guy in 129 games.
Yeah.
Yep. This is a question for Dylan. I think it has to do with friends peeing on friends. I'm not sure. Our chat room. You're missing this if it's not live. I can't put up most of them right now. Are we talking Chili Davis?
Chili Davis was a
great name. He went on to be a batting coach.
Yeah, I think recently. I don't know if he still is, but not too. Yeah, with the Yankees.
Great call. Chili Davis was a good hitter, and you know what? Somebody threw up there before Julio Franco. I want to give Julio Franco some love and Ruben Sierra. I always think of those.
Ruben Sierra. Yeah.
Ruben Sierra was big for me.
How about some love for Hensley Mullins?
Bam Bam. Hey, I almost put Kevin Moss on my list.
Kevin Moss.
Didn't he hit 13
home runs? One hell of a rookie season.
Yeah. All right, so who do you have?
All right. So now we're in the later 80s. I'm now 17, 18, 19. Obviously still a Mets fan. This dude was hyped up in the minor leagues. We still talk about him today in a joking sort of way. This dude became my guy, and I'm not embarrassed to admit it, man. Greg Jeffries.
I was wondering if you were going to put him on the list.
He's got to be on this list, man. I'm in my high school. This is a true story. I'm in my high school swimming pool. I know the gym coach. I'm like, Coach, I'm playing baseball. I'm like, I got to go in the pool. He goes, what do you got the bat for? I'm like, I got to work on my bat speed. He goes, I don't know if I should let you. Don't get me in trouble. I don't know what you're going to do. Don't get me in trouble, Newman. So I'm in my high school pool, swinging a bat underwater. Like Greg Jeffries for bat speed. He was my dude. He's a Met. And he had some great early years, man. He had some great early years. I know that at the end of the day, he's not a Hall of Famer. But I was cutting out.
Is he even a Mets Hall of Famer?
He should be.
You should never even mention him in the same sentence as the baseball.
Well, he's in my Mets Hall of Fame. And I cut out newspaper clippings, and he was my dude. Fantasy league drafts, not my first pick, but I always picked him probably ahead of where he should have went. So I had him. I remember he had good years. Listen, he's not a Hall. Mike Petty's being harsh on my man Greg Jeffries. I remember one year someone took him in a fantasy draft before me, and then I had to trade for him, and I probably got rooked in the deal just to get him back on my team. So Greg Jeffries was that, embarrassing as it might be or may not be, he was my dude. And I'm in New York, man. I'm in I'm going there in the summer. At this point, I'm high school in Syracuse, but I'm going to New York as soon as high school's over, and I'm going to as many Met games. And so I got to talk to him a little bit, got lots of autographs. I got to meet, I met him in the minor leagues. So like I had a bat, I had a not even a cracked one. I acquired an uncracked Greg Jeffries bat. So like that was my dude, man. I loved him.
You might be alone in this.
Well, I followed the hype from his minor league seasons, and I rode that train all the way into New York.
He did hit 300 a few times.
Yeah, his career batting average is 283, folks.
Okay, I wonder what Ken Singleton says. You know what?
Listen, not everyone on my list is going to be Don Mattingly. So there's my non-Don Mattingly guy.
I just want to know what Ken Singleton's OPS is.
Wally Backman was a scrappy dude. I don't know talent-wise. Again, I know Jeffries got hurt, but if you take the injuries out, man, I'm a Greg Jeffries guy.
By the way, Warren, Devon White was a heck of a player. Not trying to ignore him.
Yep.
We're giving him love. We're giving him love. I promise you. Wally Backman was a good call. Ken Singleton, OPS plus lifetime 132. Oh, this is funny. More one-year wonders, Jeffries or Trout.
Well, the fact that Jeffries is even mentioned with Mike Trout, that makes me happy. Mike Trout's a better player. I love Greg Jeffries. But he's no Mike Trout.
I love a good Kurt Bavacqua reference. Devon White. Yep. Yeah. Petty's always spicy.
Greg Jeffries, let's just put it this way. He was an acquired taste that I acquired.
Not everybody did. I think he's like spam.
Maybe because I was, you know what? Listen, I don't have to, I guess I do have to defend myself. I was in on him so early, man. I remember following this kid at Lynchburg and Jackson, and I'm just like, this is going to be my guy.
How about, I respect that. Warren says, Brooke Jacoby, I counter you with Corey Snyder. Jeffries is the licorice of baseball players in an acquired taste. I'll say black licorice because, red licorice is good.
I was so sad when he wasn't on the Mets, but I followed him. He went to Kansas City, St. Louis, Detroit, and then I think it was over after that.
Did he? I didn't realize he played on that many teams.
Yeah.
How long was he in the league?
Look it up. Probably 13 seasons, I'm guessing, without.
That's more than I would expect. All right. We're down to the last segment here. You got how many more?
I got two more names, but it's not my turn.
Go for it.
Oh, you're good?
Throw out another one.
Another guy during the Jeffries period that no one will argue with. Again, another West Coast guy. But I really love watching this guy play. And now, SportsCenter is becoming a big deal. And so even though I'm on the East Coast, you get to see him play. They start broadcasting games. And this young man at the time just loved the game, and I loved watching him play. And I wasn't a fan of his team, but I was a big fan of him. And even to this day, I pick up his cards just because I want to, right? That's Griffey Jr., right? And I know it's chalk because he's a Hall of Famer and a great player. But I really liked him early, and just the hat backwards, always smiling, climbing up the wall with his cleats and robbing home runs, that lefty swing, hitting some moonshots himself, never trash talk, never showed anyone up, just run around the bases. I became a Mets fan who was a Griffey Jr. fan at the same time. Then when all the steroid whispers started, he was never mentioned. And I'm like, I really picked a good guy to like. And so Griffey Jr. was my non-Mets guy when I was a Jeffries and Mets guy.
I wonder if he had ever had a baseball card that anybody collected.
Yeah, that too for sure. And now I'm doing shows, and
Yep.
he was obviously a big hit at shows as far as
You couldn't not like him if you grew up watching him.
yeah, he was charismatic. That's the word.
All right, I want to catch up on a couple names here that I really liked. Dale Murphy. I'm a huge Dale Murphy fan. Back-to-back MVPs, just a heck of a player. And Brett Saberhagen. Let me tell you, he dominated for a while in the American League with Kansas City, and it's another great name.
Yeah, Mookie brings up the point about Griffey vetoing going to the Mets. I'll forgive him for that. I like what he said about the Yankees, though. He'd retire before he ever played for the Yankees. So
would I, for the record. Ruben says, Mookie, I'm not just some pretty face. I know things. Ruben, we've met. Don't lie. I just saw Dave Magadan's Future Stars card today. That's a great card. I know exactly which card.
He was a hell of a base hitter. Not going to hit you any home runs, but
Mike
one of those guys you wanted up when you really needed a single and not an out in crucial times. He was pretty clutch.
Yeah. Red Dog. Wally Joyner was on the list.
Red Dog. Who remembers that beer? I used to drink some Red Dog back in the day.
Remember Zima?
Yeah, my sister drank that. I never touched it.
You put Skittles in it.
I don't remember that, but I remember Zima.
Bill Madlock, great call.
Yeah, he was a hell of a hitter.
4-time batting champ.
He almost was on Sports Card Nation. He kept telling me he was going to come on, and then we could never get it scheduled. There's my Bill Madlock.
Mike says my wife loved the Zima. And by the way, Mike, yes, I noticed you're mentioning the Mets outfield that coincidentally also beat the Orioles in '69. So appreciate that. Jolly Ranchers, not Skittles, Ruben says.
You told the story wrong. That's why I didn't know. I still didn't know.
We used, I thought it was Skittles. Random beers now. I do John Zima too.
Red Dog was pretty good. I liked it. Cheap and good. And when you can get cheap and good in beer in the same sentence, and you're young and you don't have as much discretionary income, plus you want discretionary income for your cards still too, you learn, like Red Dog moves up the list. Ahead of Milwaukee's best, for sure.
The Beast. The Beast. All
right, I got a couple more.
Real quick. Ruben says he got blasted after basic training.
All right, I got to mention an honorable mention guy. And growing up, even before, like I was a Yankee fan when I was watching Met games, because that's what you do in New York. You watch New York teams. This dude was really one of my favorite players, even though I wasn't a Mets fan yet, right? The Big Orange, Rusty Staub. Right, yep. So he's going to make my honorable mention list, kind of going back and adding.
Heck of a player.
Yep. Yeah, an underrated dude. Had a long career. Like when he was
he was in Montreal for so long.
Yeah, and other teams, a few other teams. When he was on the Mets, it was on the back nine, but he was still producing. He'd hit some clutch home runs, base hits. Rusty Staub was kind of my favorite Met before I was officially a Mets fan, kind of early on. And I'm gonna go out. The last guy I'm gonna mention that's on my list here, I always try to pick someone current, right, in baseball that I like to watch and follow, collect, to sell, the whole kit caboodle, right? And this guy, I believe, barring injury, he already is a great player. He's gonna have a even better, great career. And that's probably just jinxed him. But Bobby Witt Jr. Love Bobby. Love me some Bobby Witt Jr. I buy a lot of his stuff and don't even put it out and just keep it at home. And that's my dude. My current, infatuation. Gunnar Henderson's in that mix. You'll be happy to hear.
You knew what my next question was going to be: is who was last year's Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, well, I like Gunnar too, but I'm going to go with Bobby Witt first, and probably Gunnar second.
This is an interesting one. Current player for me is Brian Reynolds.
Yeah,
under the radar player. Oh, great name. Now all the good names are going to come in.
Joe Carter, man, he was an
RBI machine.
Yeah.
Jack Clark, he was the only power hitter on those Cardinals teams, those turf Woody Herzog teams. Logan O'Hoppe, Mike Petty's current guy.
Do you think Logan O'Hoppe talks to like? Does he? Logan O'Hoppe sounds like he should be like the Lucky Charms guy.
That's what I was. Do I think he's a leprechaun?
Hey, kid, you never get me hands on me Lucky Charms or my bat or my glove. Yellow moons, green clovers. I play in the Angels. Nobody watches me.
Yep, Mark. That's true. That was cool. And he broke up.
When went the game I went to. As did Ryan Mountcastle. Oh no, he didn't. It was Rushman and Mountcastle back to back, and we were on ESPN because we were in left field with both shots.
Oh my gosh, right? We were walking around. I forgot about that. We have to get that picture somehow.
I know, blow it up.
All right. So what else is? We're on the beyond the home stretch. We're at the final stretch here. Mike Petty says O'Hoppe hit a walk-off when he went. That does make a difference. If a guy does something in front of you when you're there, you have that personal attachment, I think, to them more so.
Jack Clark, I see Jack Clark mentioned in the chat room. That dude, number one, killed the Mets. And that guy is one of the most clutch guys. Like, he might not be a Hall of Famer in the sense of the word, but he had some big moments. He was big time in the postseason.
And where was he? San Diego, St. Louis?
San Francisco, St. Louis. I know I'm leaving off somebody. Like, he was well-traveled.
Good to see you, buddy. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for both of us. I'd like to congratulate you on
Ralph Kiner, man. I used to watch Kiner's Corner.
Oh, he was great.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's give Ruben some credit. He pulled the trigger on the 48 Bowman.
There you go, man. That's a great car. He's underrated. He's one of those underrated dudes.
Look at his numbers his first 5 or 6 years in the league, and he compares to anybody in the history of baseball.
Yeah, and he played under the shadow of some bigger names a little bit and didn't get enough credit. Yeah, Jack Clark was with the Red Sox. I remember that too.
I definitely forgot about that. Mookie.
Yeah, Ralph Kiner. I tell you what, I have a 1953 Topps Ralph Kiner. That card aesthetically is just really cool to me. Not as rookie, I get it, but I like that card.
But also a great call on a player who, a vintage player who deserves more love. It's a nice way to finish up is with a look back at somebody who deserves more love. Ted Williams called him the best hitter he ever saw.
Didn't he say that about Mike Piazza, though, too?
I was about to say, I think I've heard Ted Williams stories for about 20 different guys.
Tony Gwynn, I think he said that about.
Josh Gibson. Nah.
He said, man, that was one of the best home runs I've ever seen, Veritek, of that kid you hit.
All right. Well, this was fun, buddy. Thank you to everybody.
Yeah, we pulled some names out of my list was kind of superstar heavy. I'll admit, but between the chat room and your list, we really and listen, I threw Brett Jeffries in there so he can make that obscure list. But we came up with some throwbacks, man. Joe Charbonneau.
Hey, this is our demographic. Or old guys.
How about no one said John Castino?
How about shoot, who was I thinking of before? Al Herbotsky, the Mad Hungarian.
Hungarian.
Yep. He was a decent pitcher for a couple of years also.
Oh yeah.
All right. You want to give the details one more time since it's Orlando's debut?
Yeah, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Join myself.
Bench Clear Media.
On Bench Clear Media's channel. Myself, Orlando, and Chris Harris got some juicy topics. I won't mention them. We'll keep them under a hat, but we'll always have interesting stuff to talk about. And we have a great chat room there. It's not exactly the same as here. This is a different kind of show too. So, we're gonna have it was supposed to happen last week, but we had some issues come up. So it's a week late, but better late than never.
Well, we appreciate everybody. Look forward to people tuning in the morning. Check out At Collecting.
I'm not going to sleep. I'm just going to sit. This will be in the chair. I'll probably be wearing the same getup I'm wearing now. I'll be smelling a little bit, but I'm not leaving. Like Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
All right. Say goodnight, John.
Good night, John.